Tonight we return to our grave-robbing brothers, who made a profession out of crafting human skin into books. What the clients did not know was that in order for the brothers to make more pristine products, the freshness of the corpse was of the utmost importance. They had tried to be as humanitarian as possible about the whole ordeal. After all, it's not as if they had a choice in their dealings. They had signed a contract, after all. They had tried to use bodies that had been buried for a while, the ones who were the least likely to be missed. But through trial and error, they learned that the older the corpse, the harder it was for them to complete their task of crafting skin into leather. Their clients, although understanding at first, had started becoming quite demanding. They had no respect over how much the brothers were having to learn, and they were particularly rude at first when months of waiting yielded inferior results. They refused to pay and demanded that the brothers try again and again and again until the product was impeccably pristine. Eventually, the brothers became better at the craft of anthropodermic bibliopegy, but they needed a way of expediting the process. The flesh was wasteful to them with the embalming liquid inside of it. It was difficult to work with, but finding a buried, non-embalmed, and non-brittle body to work with was difficult and only increased their chances of getting caught. They needed a plan, and Cain knew just what to do as he followed the advice of his namesake. He'd never kill his real brother, but his brother in Christ was a different ordeal altogether. Although they had worked with so many corpses, Eric wasn't sure if he agreed with Cain that murder was an equal act. Cain took the initiative, and after Eric worked with the skin, he realized that the questionable moral was worth the quality of the product, although he did conclude that Cain would have to do the deed. The brothers needed a way of disposing the corpses without detection. They thought about burning them, but they were afraid of the odor. They thought about burying them in the graves of the ones that were now empty, but they knew that they'd soon run out of room. And after realizing how valuable the flesh could be, discarding the rest of the body seemed like such a waste. Cain and Eric dived deeper into the realm of research and discovered more uses for the recently deceased. They had expected there to be a morbid curiosity market for the meat and for the organs, but they hadn't expected the vast demand for the blood. Blood, as they came to understand, has a strong mythos behind it. It's been believed for centuries that the blood of the deceased has medicinal properties dating as far back as gladiators fighting in ancient Rome, where the blood of gladiators was thought to offer a cure for epilepsy. The blood of those killed in France by guillotine had also been noted to be consumed. The bloodier and gorier the death, the more powerful the blood. They even found a specific recipe by a Franciscan for the creation of a medicinal jam made from the blood back in 1679. From that recipe, they determined that the best blood came from people of warm, moist, temperate, such as those of a blotchy red complexion and rather plump of build. Not wanting to waste the opportunity, Cain and Eric followed the advice of the old Franciscan and left the blood out until it congealed into a sticky mass, and then spread it onto a soft wood table, cutting thin slices out of it to allow for the watery part to drip away. Once it was dried out, they would put the slices on the stove and stir it until it turned into a batter-like consistency, then transferred it into a warm bronze mortar and pounded through a sieve into a glass jar. The jam turned out to be a success, and since the jam needed to be renewed each spring, they managed to make a returning profit. The customers swore that a bit of the jam was enough to cure the worst of their headaches and made them feel younger than ever before. The brothers became as skilled of jam makers as they were at skin binding, that they began selling the products to locals who were not as knowledgeable as the others. To the townsfolk, the jam was just a magic herb, and the expensive leather-bound books were made of animals. By the time that Robert Weiner died and their contract with him had finally come to pass, the brothers had killed over 60 folks and were known best for their artisan crafts. The secret of their source died with their customers, and the brothers enjoyed a rich, happy, and early retirement where no one was ever the wiser of the true tragic origin of their goods.